the season 3 games felt so different to the other seasons. I don't know if it's because they were facing against the Joker. It didn't obviously have that same thing of it being a hearts game or diamonds. It didn't have a number card or going up against the face cards like we did. You just had to complete each round until you got to the end. But I'm going to rank the 6 games that are in season 3. I'm not counting the old maid that we see at the beginning, just because that's a quick little startup game. We're not really in the Borderlands properly yet. In 6th place, it is the Tokyo Bingo Tower. Now, as for the show itself, what we see in there, we don't see the complete game from start to finish, so we don't get that whole intensity building up. We can definitely see how much of a challenge it is, and of course it's testing Usagi's climbing skills, and I'm not sure that she has gone climbing since they came out of the Borderlands at the end of season 2. I can't remember if that was ever mentioned or not, but either way she's still obviously got, you know, a good physical fitness. But in terms of watching it on screen, it doesn't go into it fully. It is still a very tense game, but for me, yeah, that just sits in 6th place. In 5th is Kick the Can. This is definitely a very interesting one where a maximum of just 10 people are going to be able to actually survive the games. And of course, not all 10 do, because of the fact that some of the cans have exploded upon high impact or the time ran out. This is an example of probably a very good hearts game if you were to give it a suit of cards. Because of that survival method, you know, there are only a few other games where only certain people can get through. We saw that in season 1 with the wolf and sheep. Only one player can make it. We saw it in the second season with Shishio in that you know, the courtroom thing where they had to pick the number between 1 and 100. Again, only one player could make it. This one was only up to 10, and we just saw essentially like a survival of the fittest sort of thing, all working together as a team, only allowing certain players to get through. It did get tense at the end. We obviously had that sacrifice, but it was quite predictable in a way. I'm not going to diss it too much because I do love the show as a whole. I do like all the games, but yeah, it just sits in 5th because it just doesn't do anything sort of major for me watching it. But there we go. In 4th place is the Runaway Train, and now this one really does get tense, where you've got 8 carriages and only 5 gas canisters. So if you guess wrong, chances are you're gonna run out, or you know, before you get to the end, or like we've seen in some cases, their guess wrong means dying by the gas poisoning, and that's a horrible way to die. We saw it from another train that was also taking part, and then of course not everyone decided to put on their gas mask, so we knew some people were absolutely going to be screwed in this. And then we had the big surprise of another train going past, and Arisu was on that train. So that really added something. And of course, they all jumped train. It sort of added into sort of element for watching one of the Speed films or something like that. But we thought we were onto something when that guy was trying to suggest it's something to do with the train type, to predict, you know, if there's room up on the top to contain like a little gas chamber. But it turned out he was just guessing like everyone else, and we just happened to get through on pure luck. Overall, it is quite intense to watch, but definitely not as good as quite a few others in the whole season, all 3, you know, put together. 3rd spot, it is the Possible Future. Now this actually has the potential for being the #1 game. The actual gameplay itself, I think, is just brilliant. How you've got all the different rooms. Again, this would make a very good hearts game, where they're really playing on you to try and sway you into another room, to split up, to get people in lockdown, to get you to run out of your points or whatever it was, so that, you know, you'd hit 0 and die. But it's for rewatching it over and over again, the scenes where they're showing all their clips, like, you know, their potential, you know, future, is just, it gets a bit, after a, yeah, to just watch it, it's a long game that lasts quite some time, when you just, you know what the outcome is when you watch it the second time around. So you just, it does drag that little bit, which is why it's not first place, but it definitely has the feeling of it being that big sort of lead up to the big finale that we saw. And I just thought it was great. At that point, of course, we knew all of the characters, so we really sort of felt for them as they were losing their points, and of course some of them ended up dying. So yeah, it was really good. It's just yeah, just a bit long. My second spot was Sacred Fortunes, and I just think this is absolutely brilliant. It does have that feel to being the first game out there. Everyone just like, oh, okay, if we complete, answer these questions correctly, then we get a prize or something like that. Until they realise, yeah, it's a little bit more than that. And what I love about it is the fact that the further you are away from the correct answer is, of course, how many flaming arrows come at you. Except that as the questions go on, that gap between right and wrong answer gets bigger and bigger and bigger until we get to obviously Arisu at the end, who has to guess the population of the entire planet. And yeah, that's a little bit apocalyptic at the end there. And of course, he works out that it's all about the directions, that the hints were there in all the other slips that were taken before. So I think this is a great one to show Arisu with his great logic that he's got there. And I think the whole setup, I love the theming that they've done that just really sort of added to the atmosphere, and of course got introduced to some characters that we see throughout the rest of the season. So yeah, I think this is right up there for the first game, like the first proper game of the season. I think it's really, really good. And my first place is Zombie Hunt. This is another one that's a really good psychological one, because in theory everyone could survive this game, that you either cure all the zombies or you turn everyone into zombies. And Arisu, not knowing until the end that of course he's been a zombie the entire time, he knew that people would play on that instinct survival mode where they would be willing to sacrifice other people to save themselves. We've seen it before in so many other games, like the Queen of Spades game, with that physical one where they split into teams. People were willing to side with the Queen of Spades and potentially kill that young boy if it meant them getting through, with not realizing, hang on, there's actually a way to save everybody and kill the queen at the same time, which of course you want the queen to be dead because they're trying to get rid of all the face cards. And it's sort of like that here, that the game masters, or the Joker I suppose in this case, and Arisu just knew people's minds just don't work that way. And so with a few rounds left to go, it's like we need to turn as many people as we can into zombies to save as many people. But also by that point, he knew exactly who he could trust. You don't want to be teamed up with people who in a future game are just going to throw you completely under the bus. Excuse me. So yeah, I think it really adds this great psychological game. It's a good game to play. This is something that you could probably set up your own thing at home, create the little cards with the zombies, with the cure piece on there, or the shotgun. And yeah, I just think it's good gameplay. It's good to watch in the show. So overall, it's my first spot. I don't think it beats some of my other top games from the other seasons. I do still prefer the ones, like especially the ones that Shishia had done. So yeah, like I said, season 3 as a whole, not quite at the top, but it still has some great games in there.